Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be talking about thrillers you have to read that you have not heard of. So I did another video like this a little while ago and you guys absolutely loved it. It is my highest performing video on my channel, so I know that I definitely have more of them, so I wanted to go ahead and show you some more recommendations. So once again, these are thrillers that I thought were 5 or 4-star reads, really good thrillers that most people haven't heard of or read. So I just went through my Goodreads account and I looked at all of the thrillers that I had read, and I just kind of filtered them out by how many people have rated them on Goodreads. So these are all under 5,000 ratings. Most of them are under 3,000 ratings, but definitely all under 5,000, so which is pretty low for Goodreads standards. Some of the more well-known thrillers get like hundreds of thousands of ratings. So for it to be under 5, that shows you not a lot of people know about them, but they definitely need more attention brought to them. So the first book we're going to talk about today is Bad Girls with Perfect Faces by Lynn Weingarten. And this one, I remember I read this when I was waiting for my second son to arrive. So basically, I had been feeling like I knew the baby was gonna come any day. I just had that feeling, I just knew. And we were expecting a huge snowstorm here in my small town. I live in a small town, so I have to travel about an hour away to get to a hospital. And I didn't want to be in a situation where we were in a huge snowstorm and then I was having trouble on the highway getting to the hospital. So what happened was my boyfriend and I decided to rent a hotel room, and our son stayed with his parents. And we rented a hotel room. We stayed there for 3 nights, and we just kind of cozied up, watched TV. I read books, and it was just so nice. It was kind of like a little baby moon. We just like snuggled in this hotel room, and we had this beautiful hotel room facing the lake, and it was just blizzarding down. And I was reading this book, and it was just so cozy. And fun fact, the baby came the day after we got home. And there was still a whole bunch of snow on the highway, but anyway, so I was right, he was coming, but he just came the day later. So, but anyways, you guys are like, who cares? So I'm gonna read a synopsis of this one. I just remember this one having a huge twist that I just like was not imagining coming whatsoever. But it says, when Sasha's friend Xavier gets back together with his cheating ex Ivy, Sasha knows she needs to protect him. So she poses as a guy online to lure Ivy away. But Sasha's plan goes sickeningly wrong, and she soon learns to be careful of who you pretend to be, or you might be surprised by who you become. So that doesn't give you very much of a synopsis, but I can promise you that this one is written in such a way that it's just, you know, this protagonist, you like her, but at the same time, you don't. And things kind of start to spiral out of control in this friendship. And there's a couple of twists that get taken that you don't see coming. This girl is essentially trying to look out for her best friend, and she ends up getting herself into some serious trouble. I'll just say that without giving anything away. I believe I rated this one a 5 stars. So next is a book that I read on audiobook, and that is The Birthyard by Mallory Tater. And this one is super creepy, especially if you are a fan of reading about things about cults. This one is definitely for you. So our protagonist grows up. She has been born into this cult, and basically this cult views women as just a vessel for babies. As soon as they become of age to be married, which I believe is 16 in this cult, they are paired up with a man in the organization, and they are married and they are ready for breeding. They really use the term breeding. Once they get pregnant, they are shipped off to this birth yard where they are, there's like midwives there and everything like that, and they have to do work for this birth yard, and things just start to kind of take a turn. Now, all throughout this entire book, right from the beginning, I mean, us as the reader, we're seeing horrible things within this situation, but our protagonist kind of sees it as being normal until there's certain events that take place that start to get her questioning whether this is normal or not, even though she's grown up. You have to remember, she's grown up in this life. This is all she's ever known. But she starts to experience a few things that make her decide that she wants better for herself and for her unborn baby, and she feels like she needs to make a change. And so as you can imagine, trying to escape a cult or trying to leave a cult, especially a very scary one like this one is, it's quite a thrilling ride as the reader going along this journey with her and seeing what developed. It's very, very eerie, very spooky, has you on the edge of your seat because you are rooting for this girl so much. You just want a better life for her and you just want her to get away and be happy and make it. The next book that we are going to talk about is Give Me the Child by Mel McGrath. And this one says, an unexpected visitor. Dr. Kat Lupo aches for another child despite the psychosis that marked her first pregnancy. So when Ruby Winter, a small girl in need of help, arrives in the middle of the night, it seems like fate. A devastating secret. But as the events behind Ruby's arrival emerge, her mother's death, her connection to Kat, Kat begins to question whether her decision to help Ruby has put her own daughter at risk. Do we get the children we deserve? Kat's research tells her there's no such thing as evil. Her history tells her she's paranoid, but her instincts tell her different. And as the police fight to control a sudden spat of riots engaging across the Capitol, Kat faces a race against time of her own. So our protagonist in this story is trying to do her best to help an seemingly innocent child. But things start to happen and she starts to kind of wonder who this child really is. And if there's maybe a paranormal aspect to it. She's not sure if the child is evil or if something is wrong mentally with the child. And then of course she has her own mental health struggles. So you're also wondering as the reader, is this all in her mind? Is she making this up? Like what is happening? So, but according to our protagonist, there is a very real threat to her family and especially to her biological daughter that she is very, very afraid of. Next is a book by Anne Aguirre called Like Never and Always, and I really liked this one, you guys. This one is such a cool idea for a story. And very, very freaky. So basically, we start out in the beginning with 4 friends leaving a party and they are driving. I can't remember. I read it quite a few years ago. I can't remember if they were drinking and driving or if one of them was drinking and driving. I think that maybe the other 3 had been drinking except for the driver. That could possibly be it. But in any case, they get into a really bad accident. And when our protagonist wakes up, she is in her friend's body. So, so basically it's 2 girls, 2 boys, couples. And when the girl wakes up, she is alive, but she is in her best friend's body. And her body has died in this accident. So she's been told that her best friend has died, but it's really her because she's in her best friend's body. Does that make sense? I should maybe read you guys the synopsis anyway, just because I feel like I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it. So let's just do that. On a hot summer night, a screech of brakes and shattering glass changes 2 lives forever. Liv wakes in the hospital confused when they call her Morgan. She assumes it's a case of mistaken identity, yet when the bandage comes off, it's not her face in the mirror anymore. It's her best friend Morgan's. Morgan always seemed to have the perfect life, yet Liv must navigate endlessly disturbing secrets of the criminal and murderous variety, and a romance that feels like betrayal. Torn between the boy she loved as Liv and the boy she's grown to love as Morgan, Liv still has to survive Morgan's last request. So obviously she's trying to figure out what the heck has happened, and it is a wild ride. This one is a wild ride for sure. And the last book that we are going to talk about today is The Devil Crept In by Anaya Allborn. And I will put a quick little disclaimer here that this book does deal with some child abuse issues. So if that triggers you in any way, this one's probably not for you. But it says, young Jude Brighton has been missing for 3 days, and while the search for him is in full swing in the small town of Deer Valley, Oregon, the locals are starting to lose hope. They're well aware that the first 48 hours are critical, and after that, the odds usually point to worst case scenario. And despite Stevie Clark's youth, he knows that too. He's seen the cop shows. He knows what each ticking moment may mean for Jude, his cousin and best friend. That, and there was that boy Max Larson, the one from years ago, found dead after also disappearing under mysterious circumstances. And then there were the animals. Pets gone missing out of yards. For years, the residents of Deer Valley have murmured about these unsolved crimes and that a killer may be still lurking around their quiet town. Now, fear is reborn. And for Stevie, who is determined to find out what really happened to Jude, the awful truth may be too horrifying to imagine. All right, you guys, so those are 5 thrillers that you have not heard of, but absolutely have to read. And I really think that you guys will like them. Let me know in the comments down below if you're going to add any of them to your TBR, or if you have read any of them, let me know what your thoughts on them were. I hope you guys are having an awesome day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!